Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are strapping in for a pretty high-speed tour of the digital battlefield.
Yeah, and the stakes couldn't really be higher, could they?
Yeah,
We're talking national sovereignty, corporate survival, even personal data.
Exactly, it's existential. And we're diving into a fascinating stack of insights today, drawn from the work of Mr. Zaheer Ahmad Meer. He's a constitutional and corporate lawyer, but also a visionary author. Quite a combo.
It really is. And that combination is, I think, vital for this kind of deep dive. We're not just looking at the tech specs, the algorithms in isolation.
Right.
We're analyzing the strategic side,
Mm.
where law, policy, governance, and this cutting-edge tech all intersect.
Which is crucial. The source material puts it starkly. In this age of digital empires, cybersecurity isn't just an option anymore.
No, it's fundamental survival, plain and simple.
I really appreciate that focus on strategy and law because, yeah, it moves us beyond just algorithms into the real-world impact. And there's this core truth from the sources that really underpins everything.
Which one's that?
Every click leaves a shadow. Every password is a door. And every system is only as strong as its human behind it. Powerful stuff.
It really is. It grounds the whole discussion.
So our mission today is to unpack how artificial intelligence is, well, both the sword and the shield in this digital arena, how it's fundamentally reshaping both defense and offense.
Exactly. And we need to get past the general buzzwords, right? The hype, or conversely, the sort of vague fear around AI.
Yeah, the panic.
We need to understand the operational reality. What does it actually look like when AI is a shield? And just as importantly, what happens when it gets weaponized?
Because understanding that dichotomy, that directly translates into knowing how to protect your organization or even how we secure national digital infrastructure.
Precisely.
Okay, so let's not just theorize. Let's unpack this with a real-world example right away. A high-stakes scenario that shows AI isn't future tech, it's active defense, like right now.
Good idea. Where are we starting?
We're going straight to Islamabad, the Federal Investigation Agency, specifically their FIA cyber wing.
Okay. Yes, this case study is a perfect starting point. It really hammers home that radical speed advantage AI offers.
So paint the picture for us. What's the setting?
Well, think about it. A major government server, probably holding highly sensitive data, high-value target. Now, the traditional security model, it's fundamentally human-gated, right?
Meaning someone has to see an alert, then decide what to do.
Exactly. An alert flashes. A level 1 analyst gets it. Maybe they need to check the IP range, figure out if it's real, then they escalate it. The level 2 analyst confirms the threat vector. Only then, often minutes later.
Minutes, which is an eternity in cyber time.
It's fatal latency in modern cyber warfare. That chain of human confirmations gives the attacker a huge window.
Right. But the source describes a totally different timeline here in the FIA case. An AI-powered system detects something. Unusual data flow. What does that actually mean?
It's about spotting the subtle shift in behavior. It might be a sudden spike in requests using a protocol that's rarely touched, or an attempt to move data out using an obscure port that, yeah, it's technically open but never actively used.
Like noticing a door that's always closed is suddenly cracked open.
That's a great analogy. In this FIA scenario, the AI saw data starting to move. Maybe the initial probing, the reconnaissance, the first steps of exfiltration. But it was happening in a pattern that was just wildly different from the normal historical baseline for that specific server.
Okay, and the response time, that's the kicker.
Seconds. Literally seconds. The AI doesn't sit around waiting for a human or for escalation protocols.
So what does it do mechanically in those seconds?
Well, the AI, having been trained to recognize not just a specific virus signature, but the malicious behavioral fingerprint.
Behavior, got it.
It does 3 things almost simultaneously and autonomously. First, isolates the compromised part of the network, builds a digital wall around it, essentially. Second, it identifies the attacker's IP address, grabs the metadata about the attack vector. And third, most critically, it blocks the intrusion, reverts any configuration changes the attacker might have made.
All before any critical data actually leaves.
Exactly. All before a single critical file is stolen.
So a digital war was basically prevented, quietly. The team celebrated, but nobody outside even knew there was a threat.
And the significance, as you highlighted, is 0 human intervention needed to initiate the block. The human role shifts. Their job becomes reviewing the logs after the fact, the postmortem analysis, not desperately trying to stop the ongoing breach.
That's the core showcase of AI's power then. dealing with sophisticated attackers, nation-states, organized crime.
Oh,
Their infiltration speed is measured in microseconds.
right. And if your defense relies on human cognitive cycles,
Mhm.
seconds or minutes just to verify an alert, you're always going to lose that race.
Yeah,
AI flips the script. It shifts that time advantage back to the defenders,
because it acts instantly based on learned behaviors and anomalies.
turning defense from just a reactive audit function into, well, a proactive autonomous sentinel, always watching.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly for our first main section, AI as the digital guardian. We need to dig into the how now. How does AI actually achieve this incredible speed and scale, processing millions of data points, turning that into near instant action?
It really starts with two things, just raw processing power and a fundamental shift away from old school rules-based security. We're talking about massive analysis powered by machine learning.
Okay, so contrast that with traditional systems. What's the limit there?
Traditional systems are limited by explicit rules written by humans. If you see this specific signature, block it. AI, using complex algorithms, looks at everything. Millions of transactions per second, every network packet, every log entry, every user action across the whole infrastructure.
A scale that's just impossible for human analysts.
Completely unmanageable. Humans
Oh.
have to look at aggregated data, filtered data. They just
Mhm.
can't see the whole picture in real time.
And when you say millions of transactions, what kind of data are we talking about? Is it just network traffic logs or more?
Oh, much more. It ingests structured data, yes, system logs, firewall data, user logins, but also unstructured data, things like the content of internal emails, patterns of document access, even communication metadata, who's talking to whom, how often.
Right, and it builds profiles of normal from all that.
Exactly. Complex, multidimensional profiles of normal system behavior, pulling from all those different data types at once. That's the key difference. A human analyst might check network logs or maybe database queries. The AI checks them all constantly, looks for correlations, and synthesizes the single coherent picture of system health.
And it's that synthesis that lets it spot the deviation, like the example you gave earlier, someone logging in from somewhere weird.
Precisely. Let's take that example. A senior exec usually logs in 9 to 5 from Lahore. Suddenly, their credentials access the central financial database from Helsinki at 3 a.m., and they try to download 10 times the usual amount of data. To a basic system, maybe those are just 3 separate log entries. Might not even trigger a high-priority alert individually, but to an adaptive learning AI, that combination, the geographic impossibility, the time anomaly, the unusual data volume that's a massive deviation from the established baseline, high confidence alert, or maybe even an automated block right then and there.
So it's not just speed, it's moving from being purely reactive, waiting for something bad to happen, to actually being proactive, trying to predict the threat.
That's the goal of adaptive learning. It's the core of this proactive defense. Think about traditional antivirus. It's signature-based. It only recognizes attack A because it's seen the specific digital fingerprint of attack A before.
So it's always playing catch up with new attacks.
Always. Adaptive learning models, often using what's called unsupervised or semi-supervised learning, they learn the attacker's methods, their behavior, the TTPs, tactics, techniques, and procedures.
So even if a hacker cooks up a brand new malicious tool, the AI doesn't need to know the tool's name. It just recognizes the process, like reconnaissance, then escalating privileges, moving sideways through the network.
Exactly right. The AI is trained on the sequence of actions that makes up an attack chain. Let's say an attacker launches a sophisticated phishing campaign. To try and dodge simple detection, maybe they slightly change the email text each time, use random subject lines, register dozens of similar-looking domains, type of squatting.
Yeah, making it hard to just block one specific thing.
But the AI sees the underlying pattern, the rapid deployment of lots of almost identical suspicious domains, the similar social engineering language cues, the targeting of specific high-value people. It recognizes the campaign, the intent, and it can block the whole thing before that final critical email even lands in someone's inbox or gets clicked.
Wow, okay, that is a crucial difference. Protecting against attacks the system has literally never encountered before, or attacks that change form too fast for signatures. Which brings us to that really scary concept, zero-day exploits.
Ah, yes, the boogeyman.
Vulnerabilities that nobody in the defense community even knows about when the attack hits. How on earth does AI tackle something completely unknown like that?
0 days are the ultimate test, you're right. No known signature. But an exploit, by definition, has to do something malicious, right? It has to run code in a way it shouldn't, try to write to protected memory, rapidly change system settings. AI tackles this using advanced behavioral analysis, often using specialized, isolated environments called sandboxes.
Okay, walk us through that sandbox process. How does that work?
Sure. So when a suspicious file or process shows up, maybe something that the AI hasn't seen before, it doesn't just blindly trust it or deny it. It automatically shoots a copy into a quarantine virtual environment, the
Like
sandbox.
a digital isolation chamber.
Exactly. Inside the sandbox, the AI watches every tiny action the code tries to take. It tracks what we call system calls or syscalls. If that code tries to access memory it has no business touching, or starts encrypting files like ransomware does, or tries to call out to download more malware, the AI sees that malicious behavior, that fingerprint, instantly.
So even if the code itself is brand new, never seen before, the attempt to break the rules, that's what the AI flags.
Precisely. It's detecting the act of picking the lock, even if the attacker is using a totally new, custom-made lockpick. It doesn't need to have seen that specific lockpick before.
Which means the AI can quarantine it, isolate the threat, based purely on what it's doing, long before human researchers have even identified the software flaw that allowed the attack in the first place.
And that is the definition of AI as a proactive digital guardian. It's always learning, always watching for hostile intent, often stopping the enemy's move before they even know they've been spotted.
That focus on behavior, real-time action is fascinating. But AI defense isn't just about detection and blocking, right? The source talks about making the system itself inherently more resilient.
That's right. We need to move beyond just threat intel into system resilience engineering.
So let's shift focus then. Moving from detection to active protection, even self-correction. What kind of infrastructure, virtual or physical, does AI help build to make systems fundamentally stronger? This leads us right into section 2, building the AI cyber defense architecture.
Okay. So maybe the most crucial concept here, something detailed in the sources, is the idea of self-healing systems.
Self-healing, that sounds almost organic.
It kind of is, in a way. It means the defense architecture doesn't just block an attack probe. It autonomously fixes the vulnerability that let the probe get in. It ensures constant security hygiene, often without needing a human to push the Update Now button.
Okay, I get the goal, but self-healing sounds delicate. How does an AI know the difference between, say, a legitimate admin making a weird but necessary change and a genuine flaw that needs patching right now? That seems like a tough judgment call.
It is. It uses risk scoring and verification loops. So when an AI spots a potential vulnerability, maybe a missing setting in a firewall rule, it doesn't just slap on a patch blindly. First, it checks that vulnerability against its global threat intelligence feed. How severe is it? Is it being actively exploited out in the wild? That's the risk scoring.
Okay, so it prioritizes.
Right. If the risk is high, then it moves into a rapid deployment phase.
But what if the automated fix itself breaks something important, unintended consequences?
That's where the verification loop is key. The AI usually deploys the fix in a contained test environment first. Verifies system functions are still okay. Then it implements it, maybe phased rollout, maybe immediate if it's critical. And crucially, it always keeps a rollback configuration handy.
A safety net.
Exactly. If the fix causes unexpected problems, makes the system unstable, it autonomously reverts back to the last known good secure state. And it alerts the human admins, hey, tried to fix this, didn't work, the vulnerability's still here, need your eyes on this.
So it dramatically shrinks that window of exposure. Patching becomes continuous, not just a weekly or monthly chore.
It moves patching from a scheduled human task, often delayed, to a continuous automated process happening minute by minute. That alone solves one of the oldest, biggest headaches in IT security.
Keeping up with the sheer volume of patches, yeah, I see that.
It ensures resilience against known threats, and even rapidly emerging ones, just by keeping things up to date constantly. Maximum security hygiene.
Okay, moving on. Another critical piece mentioned in the source relates to data privacy, encryption optimizers. Now, most people, myself included, probably think of encryption as kind of binary. It's on or off. Or you pick a strong algorithm like AES-256 and you're done. Why does AI need to dynamically optimize it?
Because modern digital environments are incredibly dynamic, not static at all. Data is constantly flying around between your local network, maybe multiple cloud providers, mobile devices out in the wild, partner systems.
Right, the perimeter is gone.
Exactly. And the security profile of that data path changes moment by moment. Encryption math is solid, yes, but its real-world effectiveness often gets bottlenecked by human factors. Things like managing the keys securely and balancing security with computational overhead. Strong encryption takes processing power.
Okay, so how does the AI step in to optimize that?
An AI-powered optimizer ensures the encryption parameters are constantly tuned to the immediate security context. For example, let's say sensitive financial data is being accessed by a user who's currently remote, connected via a network. The system flags as high risk or unverified.
Like public Wi-Fi at a coffee shop.
Perfect example. The AI might autonomously react. It could increase the encryption key length on the fly, shorten the key rotation cycle. Maybe instead of changing keys once a day, it changes them every hour or even every few minutes for that session. Or it might shift to a slightly more computationally heavy but harder to crack algorithm just for that specific data transfer.
So it's like adjusting the strength of the padlock based on how sketchy the neighborhood looks right now.
That's a perfect way to put it. It does a real-time risk assessment and dynamically applies the right level of cryptographic protection, maximum data privacy under constantly changing conditions. And it takes the burden off a human admin having to manually set complex encryption policies for thousands of different scenarios and endpoints.
All right, now we have to tackle the paradox. The threat that AI itself has, well, helped create or at least amplify. Deepfakes. Generative AI has unleashed this incredibly realistic new threat. The source highlights the necessary countermeasure: deepfake detection models.
Yeah, this isn't just about protecting systems anymore. This is really a battle for the integrity of shared reality, isn't it?
It feels that way sometimes.
Generative AI makes creating convincing fake audio, fake video, fake text incredibly cheap and scalable. These deepfakes, they're potent weapons. Financial fraud, manipulating stock prices, political destabilization, the list goes on. So the defense has to be AI fighting fire with fire.
And these detection models work by spotting tiny little flaws, right? Things the human eye or ear just wouldn't catch. What kind of tells are they looking for?
They're looking for what we call high-frequency anomalies. In video deepfakes, yeah, a human might look at weird mouth movements. But the AI is analyzing things like subtle inconsistencies and how light and shadow fall across the face, or maybe a lack of natural blinking, or those tiny micro-expressions humans make constantly, or even subtle, repetitive visual artifacts left over from the generation process itself.
And for audio?
Similar idea. Unnatural breathing patterns, a lack of realistic pauses between words, or doing a spectral analysis of the voice, looking at the underlying frequencies for telltale signs of synthesis that are just impossible for the human ear to pick up.
The importance here feels huge. I mean, if you can't trust a video statement from a world leader or an audio command from your CEO telling you to transfer funds.
The whole foundation of trust in our digital communication, our financial systems, it just collapses.
So these models are fundamentally about protecting truth in the digital space.
Exactly. Ensuring that the inputs driving critical decisions, financial, political, strategic, whatever, are actually authentic. If AI didn't have this defensive capability, the threat landscape would quickly become completely ungovernable, just due to the sheer scale and realism of AI-generated deception.
Which brings us, inevitably, to the flip side. Section 3. The dark side. We've talked about AI as the amazing shield, but these same powerful tools, often open source, easily accessible, they're available to the bad guys too. And this is where things get really interesting and, frankly, a bit terrifying.
It's absolutely essential to face this reality. Cybercriminals, state-sponsored hacking groups, they are often faster to adopt cutting-edge tech than big bureaucratic organizations. We are seeing the widespread weaponization of generative AI, and it fundamentally changes the game, the cost-benefit calculation for launching sophisticated attacks.
Okay, so let's break that down. What are the specific ways hackers are using generative AI right now that make complex cybercrime easier for more people?
Well, the number one way is probably malicious code generation. Think about it. Before generative AI, creating really customized malware, something designed to sneak past multiple layers of modern defense that took serious skill, months of work by specialist programmers, digital artisans, you could say.
Right, a high barrier to entry.
A very high barrier. Now,
Yeah.
a threat actor with just moderate scripting skills can essentially prompt a large language model, guide it, and have it generate highly effective polymorphic malware.
Polymorphic. Explain that again quickly.
Sure. Poly means many, morphic means form. So polymorphic malware is code that can change its own signature, the specific string of characters identifying it every single time it runs or copies itself. But it keeps its core malicious function intact.
So if your defense relies on a blacklist of known bad signatures,
It misses it. The signature changes. The defense is blind. The attack gets through. Generative AI makes creating this kind of shape-shifting code almost instantaneous. And it can be highly personalized to the target's specific environment.
Wow, that just dramatically lowers the barrier. You don't need a computer science PhD to launch a serious attack anymore. You just need to know how to talk to the AI effectively.
Precisely. It's democratizing sophisticated cybercrime, in a way. And what's more, the AI can be prompted to do reconnaissance first. Scour the target's public-facing systems. What OS are they running? What software versions? Any known configuration weaknesses. Then, it tailors the attack code specifically to exploit those weaknesses. Maximize the chance of success in the very first try.
So attackers move from just noisy brute force attempts to these laser-guided, almost bespoke attacks.
Exactly. And this capability bleeds over into attacking the weakest link in any security chain, the human. The source highlights the really damaging use of AI to create realistic, fake identities.
Ah, social engineering on steroids.
Totally. Social engineering is all about building trust, exploiting psychology, old-school phishing emails, often riddled with grammar errors, obvious fake domains, easy to spot if you're careful. AI changes the game completely. Hackers use generative AI to craft utterly believable fake personas.
Complete with backstories.
Oh yeah. Fabricated work histories on fake LinkedIn profiles, realistic profile pictures generated by AI, even coherent conversational styles learned from analyzing real interactions. And they can deploy these fake personas at massive scale.
So we're talking hyper-personalized phishing now. The email isn't just a generic urgent reset your password. It's written using the specific jargon of your industry. It references recent company news, it perfectly mimics the tone of your boss or maybe a senior executive, and it targets, say, a specific junior employee who the attackers know is new or likely stressed.
The psychological manipulation is intense. And then you layer on AI-generated voice or video, those deepfakes we just talked about. Imagine getting a voicemail that sounds exactly like your CEO asking for urgent help with a wire transfer. It becomes incredibly difficult for the recipient to reject, even if they're normally cautious.
And this is leading to real-world breaches, big ones.
Absolutely. This capability is directly linked to a major spike in high-value compromises, especially things like fraudulent wire transfers authorized by fake executives. Business email compromise, or BEC, is exploding because of this.
Let's focus on the targets then, and the potential damage. The source makes it clear AI-driven attacks, especially deepfakes, are aiming for systemic disruption now.
Yeah, the impact has moved way beyond just stealing money from one company. Deepfakes are explicitly targeting politics. Imagine a totally fabricated video of a political leader announcing a crisis, spreading globally in minutes. It could trigger panic, market crashes.
Or election interference on a whole new level.
Exactly. They're targeting banking and critical infrastructure, using voice impersonation to authorize massive, irreversible transactions, or maybe even disrupt operations. And, critically, they target personal reputation, using AI for highly realistic slander, blackmail, sabotage against key corporate figures, political opponents, anyone, really.
It really drives home that paradox, doesn't it? The same core intelligence that acts as the digital shield, the thing that can spot the tiny artifacts of a deepfake.
Is simultaneously the engine creating the hyper-realistic deception in the first place?
It feels like an exhausting, never-ending arms race.
It is. Every time the defenders develop a new AI detection technique, it immediately gives the offensive AI developers feedback. Okay, they can spot that now. Let's train the generator to remove that artifact. The fakes get better. The detection gets better. It just accelerates.
So how do we break that cycle? Is it just about building faster, smarter AI?
Faster algorithms alone won't cut it. The only way to get ahead, or at least manage this escalating race, is by integrating that human element more deeply. Strategic insight. Ethical governance. That's the key.
Which leads us perfectly into Section 4, Human plus AI, the ultimate defense. Because the consensus from the source material seems really clear on this. AI isn't about replacing human defenders. It's about augmenting them, empowering them. So we need to define that critical division of labor. How do we ensure the human warrior is worthy of the powerful AI armor?
The synergy is non-negotiable. You have to have both. AI and humans bring totally different, essential, non-overlapping skills to the cybersecurity table. Think about AI's role. It's the tireless analyst, ultra-fast, works at scale. It catches the anomalies, right? The millions of transactions, the impossible speeds, the statistical patterns, way too complex for a human brain to process in real time.
It's the tactical grunt work, essentially, constant processing, neutralizing low-level threats automatically.
Exactly. It's the always-on, non-emotional sentry that never blinks, never gets tired, never needs a coffee break.
Okay, so the AI flags an anomaly. Let's say a massive data download from an internal server using a weird protocol, like we discussed. The AI tells you what happened, but what's the essential human's role here? What can the person do that the machine can't?
The human interprets intent
Hmm.
and context. AI can tell you definitively what happened, the deviation from the norm. But it often struggles with the why, that huge download. Well, it could be a foreign intelligence agency breaching your network, high malice.
Okay, worst case.
Or it could be a disgruntled employee stealing company secrets on their way out the door, local malice, insider threat.
Also bad.
Or maybe it's an employee who's legitimately backing up huge project archives before leaving the company. They're following a procedure, but maybe it's an old, poorly documented one the AI hasn't been explicitly trained on. Zero malice, just a bad process.
Ah. And only a human analyst can make that call.
Only the human, using their knowledge of the company context, maybe personnel issues, current geopolitical tensions, legal rules, only they can apply that judgment to assign intent and strategic meaning to the anomaly the AI found.
So the human provides the wisdom, the strategic oversight,
Yeah.
the ethical judgment.
Precisely. The system only becomes truly resilient when you have that collaboration. Ethical hackers testing defenses, AI auditors checking the algorithms, security analysts interpreting the alerts. The human element is the ultimate check and balance. It guides the AI ethically and ensures the machine's findings are interpreted correctly before you take potentially drastic action.
The source actually gives a great practical example of this idea in action. Proactive efforts to train this next generation of defenders, specifically mentioning programs under Mr. Zaheer Ahmad Meer's Digital Future Ventures.
Yes, and initiatives like that are absolutely vital because they shift the focus. It's not just about teaching kids how to code anymore. It's about cultivating this new professional standard, the Cyber Guardian.
Cyber Guardian, I like that.
The training emphasizes that these professionals aren't just techs or network admins. Their core role is to defend data integrity using, in this order, knowledge, ethics, and code. Ethics comes before code.
That implies the curriculum must cover things like AI auditing pretty heavily, right? If we're trusting machines with our defenses, we need humans who can audit the algorithms themselves, check for bias, errors, mission creep.
Absolutely critical. AI auditing is about making sure the ethical oversight keeps pace with the computational speed. For example, an auditor might investigate. Has this automated defense system accidentally developed a bias? Is it disproportionately flagging traffic from certain countries or certain user groups as malicious, even when it's perfectly legitimate?
Because that could have serious real-world consequences.
Huge consequences. The Cyber Guardian's job is twofold. Secure the system from outside threats and ensure the internal ethics of the defense tools themselves are sound, fair, and transparent.
It's about building a strong moral compass into the people managing these incredibly powerful autonomous systems. We're building the AI armor, yeah, but we need to make damn sure the warriors inside that armor are ethically grounded and strategically sharp.
That's the core takeaway for this section, I think. AI is the armor tactical speed, massive scale. But ethics, strategic human judgment, that's the warrior inside. Without that ethical framework, without human interpretation, even the most powerful AI defense system could become an uncontrollable or just badly misdirected force.
Okay, we've covered the tactical stuff, the professional development. Let's zoom out now to the macro level. Section 5. National strategy, policy, and public responsibility. If AI defense is becoming the nation's armor, what kind of structural, legal strategy do we need to wield it effectively and justly? The source uses the challenges faced by nations like Pakistan as a really good case study for basically all nations going through this rapid digitalization.
Absolutely. For any country serious about digital sovereignty, defense can't stay fragmented, siloed within individual government departments or private companies. It just won't work. The first big structural need highlighted in the source is establishing a national AI security command center.
Okay, what's the core function? Is it just another coordinating body? How's it different from existing cybersecurity agencies?
The goal is true integration and instantaneous data fusion. This center needs to be the central nervous system, the brain, for the entire national digital immune system. It has to seamlessly connect cutting-edge university research, the speed and innovation of private startups, and the policy clout, legal jurisdiction, and authority of government agencies, all feeding into one operational hub.
The coordination challenge there sounds immense. You're asking different critical sectors, energy, finance, defense, healthcare, to share potentially sensitive threat intelligence in real time.
That is the main hurdle. Each sector often has its own data standards, different regulations, different levels of technological maturity, just plain old bureaucratic inertia. The National Command Center's job is to break down those walls, jurisdictional proprietary data issues to ensure threat intel flows instantly. And defensive strategies, especially these AI-driven automated responses, are unified across all critical national infrastructure.
Because you can't have the power grid running bleeding-edge AI firewalls while the banking system is 5 years behind, right?
Exactly. An attacker will just hit the weakest link. This creates a single, modern digital immune system for the whole country, replacing scattered, vulnerable organs with centralized intelligence and response capability.
And pulling all that together structurally, that forces the second, maybe even harder step: serious legal reforms. This is where that constitutional law perspective from the source author, Mr. Meer, really comes into play. We urgently need to define AI accountability, especially when things go wrong in data breaches or other incidents.
This is probably the thorniest legal puzzle of the digital age. Think about it. An autonomous AI defense system is compromised by an attacker. Or maybe worse, the AI itself makes a mistake. It misidentifies something, and that leads to a catastrophic data breach or shuts down critical services. Who is legally responsible?
Yeah, who do you sue?
Exactly. Traditional law looks for a human actor. Someone was negligent, someone had intent. Or it holds a company responsible for its employees' actions, vicarious liability. But when an AI, operating on its own, decides a legitimate user is a state-sponsored attacker and locks down, say, the National Stock Exchange,
Or fails to detect a brand new attack because its training data wasn't perfect.
how do you assign legal blame? Is it the programmer who wrote the initial code, the company that deployed it, the auditor who certified the algorithm? The current legal doctrines just weren't built for autonomous decision-making systems.
So the law needs a major update.
A fundamental one. The reforms have to tackle vicarious liability for autonomous systems head-on. If an AI messes up catastrophically, does liability trace back to its design, its implementation? Or do we need entirely new legal concepts, maybe treating highly autonomous AI almost like a distinct entity in some cases? And alongside that, we absolutely need mandatory algorithmic transparency, audit trails. When an AI makes a big decision, defensive or maybe even offensive, we need to be able to understand why it made that decision forensically to assign responsibility fairly.
That debate over assigning legal blame, it feels foundational. You can't really deploy AI nationally at scale without figuring that out first. Speed without accountability is, well,
Tyranny. It truly is. The legal framework has to evolve to handle these incredibly complex questions of negligence, intent, and responsibility in a world where machines act autonomously at machine speed. It's the bedrock of trustworthy digital governance.
okay, finally, let's bring this all back down to the individual listener, to you listening right now. Because this isn't just a problem for governments or big corporations or lawyers. It's fundamentally about public responsibility too, isn't it? That scales up to national security.
Absolutely. As the source material correctly hammers home, the strongest AI defense, the most sophisticated firewall ever built, can be completely bypassed by one single careless human click. National defense starts at the endpoint. It starts with your device, your choices.
So the strategy has to include massive public awareness efforts.
Massive and effective. Public awareness campaigns focus squarely on practical cyber hygiene and basic digital ethics.
And we're not talking about being paranoid here. It's about being prepared.
The fundamentals, right. Using multi-factor authentication everywhere, understanding how social engineering tricks work so you don't fall for them, good password habits, just being mindful of that digital shadow that, as the source said, every click leaves.
Yes. The core message has to land with every single citizen. Every citizen must become cyber aware. It's inescapable. If the digital world is a new domain of conflict, then everyone needs basic digital self-defense skills. Because an individual's vulnerability, that quickly aggregates up. It becomes the nation's vulnerability, an easy entry point for attackers targeting bigger things.
So if we buy that core truth, every system is only as strong as the human behind it, then digital sovereignty really does begin with individual digital responsibility.
It's the final, crucial layer of defense. If the general public is negligent with their own digital hygiene, they're essentially leaving doors unlocked all over the country for attackers. The strength of the national digital immune system is absolutely tied to the diligence and awareness of its citizens. Wow. Okay, this has been an incredibly layered deep dive. We've gone from the tactical speed of that FIA cyber wing intervention right down to the millisecond.
All the way up to the complexity of national legal frameworks and ethical reforms.
Exactly. So let's try and boil it down. What are the two most important concepts you think our listeners should really internalize from all this as they try to navigate this increasingly AI-driven world?
Okay, two things. First, remember that core dichotomy. AI gives us unprecedented speed and scale for defense. That's the armor. It provides tactical superiority. But the human element, providing ethical guidance, interpreting intent, strategic oversight, that's the essential warrior inside the armor. Without human wisdom, the armor is just a fast machine. It's not truly secure.
Right. Armor without a skilled, ethical warrior is dangerous. And the second takeaway?
That macro view we just displayed, digital responsibility at the individual level.
Yeah.
Your cyber hygiene, your awareness, it's absolutely foundational to national digital sovereignty.
Yeah.
The nation can't be secure if its citizens are constantly compromising their own digital front doors.
It really underscores the need for continuous learning, doesn't it? And that deep collaboration you mentioned between the humans making policy, the humans building the tech ethically, and the autonomous systems themselves.
That's the only way forward in this landscape. Constant learning, constant adaptation, and critical collaboration.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, let's leave you, our listener, with one final provocative thought. Something that builds directly on that thorny issue of legal and policy reform we spent time on.
Right. If we agree that we desperately need these legal reforms to define AI accountability when things go wrong,
Which seems undeniable.
then we have to ask ourselves this crucial question.
Are we designing our AI defense systems just to be optimized for speed, for pure efficiency? Or are we actively ensuring they're also fundamentally optimized for justice, for transparency?
Because if AI is the digital guardian who guards the guardian's algorithms, how do we make sure that ethical oversight, that legal scrutiny, can actually keep pace with computational speed?
It's a question of governance, really. And answering it will likely define how much trust we can actually place in the digital systems that will run the 21st century. Something to definitely keep thinking about.